booties for black girl nerds.
The first junket I ever did in my career was for the first Creed. And you were so wonderful and so kind, and I learned a lot that day because I brought my whole gear. I didn't know what was going on.
I did not know that. Well,
That was
that's
awesome.
Great.
So Stitch Duran sends his regards.
Okay.
I interviewed, I'm a boxing person, too, in addition to this. And, you know, he had a really good time working with you. So I wanted to talk to you about being a director, and it would be an easier road to be a big star and do big films, but this is a different challenge. So what did directing do for you that acting doesn't? What did it satisfy for you as a creative person?
I think directing for me just gave me more creative license on the entire vision. You know, I think being an actor and being an instrument of a bigger symphony, you know, or a piece of, you know, a bigger puzzle, is satisfying in its own way. And I'm only able to shape the story and the performance, but so much between, you know, action and cut, you know, and I feel like, you know, as a director, it gave me ability to shape the entire story and all the, you know, other pieces that, you know, interact with one another and you know, in service of the entire vision. So it just kind of gave me more, you know, more scope, you know what I'm saying, more creative, you know, freedom, and I really enjoyed it.
So with that, is for the vision for this film, for Creed 3, is it about a big thing that's brought in and made more intimate, or is it about pulling like the magnifying glass and taking an element and making it bigger?
I think, you know, from the great words of Denzel, you know, the universal stems from the specific, you know, and I think with this character, particularly in this movie, this is the third time I've got a chance to play Adonis, you know, so I've kind of grown up with him. You know what I mean? From Creed 1 till now, over the past 9 years. So slowly over time, when I check back in with this character, you know, we've strangely enough been going through similar things and similar, you know, mindset sets, you know, for, you know, of certain things. So just sticking with that black experience and what that felt like, you know, I felt like, you know, this is what things that he would be going through at this time of his career, at this time of his life. And I wanted to have that conversation, so that's what we did.
So with that time, the great Marvin Hagler says it's hard to get up and do road work when you sleep in his silk pajamas. So is Adonis in the silk pajamas point in his life at this stage?
I think so. I think he was a little bit. You know, he was in the you know, the comfort of his silk PJs. You know what I'm saying? And but still feeling a little restless. You know, still feeling a little uneasy for whatever reason. And I think, you know, right when you start to kind of relax a little too much, that's when something comes and kind of like, you know, keeps you on your toes. And that's where, you know, Damian kind of comes into play. And I thought that was the perfect time, the perfect kind of scenario to really challenge our guy and make him uncomfortable again and make him feel like an underdog, you know, in our third movie, which is, you know, what these movies kind of hinges itself on, is that underdog spirit. And that's what we had to revert to for Adonis.
And lastly, Tank versus Ryan. Who's
Tank,
winning?
hands down.
Tank hands
Yeah.
down? All right. Well, that was good.
I can't wait, Tank. Can't wait, man.
It's going to be hype. They got to it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this.
Thank
full
you.
circle.
Of course.
Thank you so much for your time. What I've always loved about Bianca, she, even over the course of the 3 movies, she always had this air of regality, of poise. And so now at this stage in a relationship with Adonis and daughter and family, is that same regality from the confidence, from security? Where does it bloom from within her?
That is such a beautiful question. That's so cool. You know what? That's so interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that, because I do think of her as poised. It's always been interesting to make these films also with Phylicia Rashad around and on set, because to me she was like such an early model of poise and regality, of black femininity to me. So and there's a host of other actresses who have been that to me over the years. I think her poise this time around, actually, I was really interested in the idea of it coming from her vulnerability. I think in the first film you meet a woman who is strong and fierce and independent, but guarded, you know? And that becomes a part of her allure and mystique, even to Donnie. And I think over the course of the films, there's actually been a process of her allowing herself to be seen more squarely And I was really interested in that one this time around. Like I had talked to Mike about the idea of her at some point being able to talk about things that have been hard for her that maybe she hadn't told him about, you know, of upending this idea that for women who really seem like they have it all together, that it's easy. And I think that her sense of, if she communicates a kind of regality or poise, I think this time around, it actually comes from her ability to be soft and be vulnerable.
They've advanced in their relationship quite a bit. It's been a number of years since we were last with them. And they've always been great counterparts for each other, creating like a yin-yang effect. Has that shifted? Is the burden of who is the leader and who is the head of the household, it seems like it shifts a little bit with them.
Oh yeah, I think it does shift with them. But I think that's something that's kind of aspirational about them, because I think it's something that should shift. I think that I sometimes feel like, and I think actually the images that we ingest in television and film have something to do with this too. I think sometimes we're too squarely invested in like strict, particularly between a man and a woman, roles and how people should show up. And I think particularly for like young black men, for example, I think this idea of being vulnerable and being emotional is something that we have not been told is okay necessarily. And so I think getting to see a couple that can shift roles, you know, that the man can hang out with the kid and take care of the kid while the woman is doing her work. I think seeing more images, normalizing more images of that would be really useful actually for people, you know, because a lot of people's lives resemble that. And I think the images that we project into the world make us feel seen and validated, and I think it's important.
And with that, and with the pairing of all of you in the movie, just as strong as the male-driven storyline is, the women's storyline is just as passionate and just as interesting to see, you know, when you have children and that balance, when your children need additional help from you because of any circumstances in their life.
Yeah.
So reflecting on that with portraying a mother to a hearing impaired child, you know, what did you reflect on just stepping into that dimension of Bianca's character, being a mother, being an active mother?
Yeah. I think something that felt really rich and interesting to me is also this idea that that children can teach you. You know, I mean, I don't have a child. I feel like if I did, I think the kind of relationship I feel like I'd want is the kind of relationship I really observe, for example, between Kim, Mila's mother, and Mila, which is one of, obviously not complete parity, because the mother has to be an authority on some things, but that there's this idea that, you know, you're two humans that are here together and each can learn from each other, that you each can make each other better and stronger, and each deserves to be listened to with real seriousness. And I think, taking kids seriously, I guess, you know, inside of their humanity. That's something that I feel like it would be really important to me as a parent, and something that I feel grateful that I was raised that way. And I think seeing images of that, you know, is important too.
You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Really beautiful
Thank
story.
you so much.
Thank you for your time. So if you ever decide you want to chop coaching, always.
Camera roll.
You looking super fantastic.
You looking amazing
ma'am.
as usual. I'm glad we coordinated our
Look,
colors
we'll work-
today.
Girl.
Hold on. Steve.
Spade.
Stitch Duran sends his good regards.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah. I cover boxing too, so this was
Oh, you do?
very exciting to me
Okay.
to talk about this with you. So I talked to Stitch, and he had an interesting comment about wrapping your hands and how locked in, and he didn't understand the process. He's
Right.
like, I was saying hi, and he didn't say anything because he was locked in. So for you,
Yeah.
what does locking in begin for you? Does it begin before you get to set? When do you know you've locked into a character like Damian?
Oh, wow. Ebbs and flows. At a certain point, you just have to trust it, right? You know, if once I've done the work or have begun my work on it, at a certain point, it's kind of like SNL, right? It's live now. We gotta go. No matter, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just trust and faith, you know. And so for me, that process kind of, when I've got to take my hands off, and that's when I'm locked in. It's probably kind of when boots hit the ground, you know, if we're on location. I'm still doing the work. I'm still tinkering. I'm still working the script and everything. But there's a certain faith that I have. Like, okay, I'm in it now. You know, everything I do is Dame. You know, everything I do is enter character's name. You know, after I've, you know, done the work. So yeah. But he was catching me on rough days. He was catching me on fight days, where I was like, bro, I don't talk to anybody anyways. Fight day, nah, bro, it's not happening. You know what I mean? It's Dame, nah, it's not happening. You know, I love Stitch.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Fighters and actors share that kind of similar journey where it takes you a team. It takes a team to get you a certain point.
Yeah.
But once you get there, you have to execute. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
So in the course of this, have you found some commonalities with fighters that you appreciate more now after portraying one, or commonalities between an actor and a fighter?
Yeah, the invisible work is most important. You know, the integrity of a fighter and the integrity of an actor. There are parallels, you know. A lot of times no one's watching, you know, and that's when a lot of the work happens, you know. No one's forcing you to memorize your lines. No one's forcing you to jump rope. No, and if you're only training in class, if you're only training in the gym, you won't be champ. You know what I mean? like I'm in there
It's
now,
not
like,
gonna happen.
you're not gonna be champ. It's just not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like the amount of internal understanding you have to have is deep, you know. And then also, like, there's this dogness, there's a dogged nature, I think, to an artist and a fighter, and maybe something that's a bit masochistic. You know what I mean? Where you're willing to hurt more, you know, to win.
In both.
In both, yeah. Yeah.
With Damian, you know, motivation is different for different people. So when you look at him, do you think he's more motivated by anger, by determination to prove himself? Like,
Yeah.
what is his primary motivation to get to the end?
He's been humiliated. That's a big thing, right? So he's been humiliated. So his motivation is to redeem himself, you know, self-esteem, to prove that he was and is the best, the greatest, you know. To himself, you know, he's been gaslit, you know, to himself and also to others, particularly, you know, to Adonis. Yeah.
That is my time.
Amen.
Congratulations to you. Have a great premiere.
Yes, ma'am.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.